Hello. Welcome to A Novel Console, your weekly podcast where we talk about books, games, food, and stuff that caught our attention during the week. No Carradine this week again because it's loading memories. And with me, I have one of the coolest persons I've ever met in this podcasting circle, and one of the person who has one of the most in-depth shows that I've seen, where she does incredible research. She made Metroid Fusion, a game that you can technically beat in 2 hours, a 3-hour episode, and it was fantastic. With me is Jala-Chan today. Jala, how are you doing today?
Yay! It was 3 hours and 20 minutes. Oh, like the transcript went over the limit, like the byte limit, and I had to cut down and rephrase stuff in the transcript because there was too much. So yeah, that is thanks to all of my very enthusiastic guests for that episode for sure. I am doing okay. How about you?
I'm exhausted, but that is the running theme of this show. I am very, very tired, and that's okay because tomorrow's Friday and I get to work from home. So that means doing nothing all day.
Except recording again, probably.
Yes, and 9 with Aaron from Superpod.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's what I like about these episodes, because I don't have to do any research. It's basically just sitting down and talking about games that we grew up with, and it's super relaxed. No research, no nothing. I know you sent me a bunch of stuff, and I was like, holy shit, I've seen a bunch of this stuff, but a lot of this stuff I haven't, and I wanted to check it out so bad, but I just did not have the time to do it.
I didn't expect that you would, but it's there for you if you want to look at it after we talk. So
no, I am gonna look at it while you're telling me about it, so I can get a good idea and maybe kind of describe it if necessary. But I have heard of a few. I've heard of Kabuki Quantum Fighter, which I'm sure is going to get a whole segment. I did see Shakan at some point, and a bunch of these other fantasy games just look so damn cool. So before we start, I want you to tell me about all your shows, because I know you got a couple of shows. Just go ahead and plug them, because usually people drop out when you do it at the end of the episode. So floor is yours.
Okay, so I have two primary things that I am on. I am on Jala-Chan's Place, which is my self-titled show. I am actually repping myself right now with my own little shirt, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so that show is a bi-weekly show where I alternate between talking about a piece of media and talking about a real-life topic. These are not necessarily related to one another. Sometimes they are, but we always look at the media kind of through the lens of the backlog of all of the topical episodes that we've covered. So we've covered toxic masculinity multiple times. We've covered different aspects of gender and, stuff like that. And so that kind of bleeds into when we're talking about media pieces. That's not like the only thing that we talk about. I had an episode that was on basically deprogramming capitalist brain and, the burnout and grind culture type stuff. And then right after that, I did
send me that.
Mm-hmm.
You need to send me the link to that episode, because I would love to hear somebody just tell me how to do that.
Well, there's that. And then right after that, I had the Portal episode, wherein one of my guests for that episode was talking about Portal through the lens of corporate culture. And so it kind of bleeds into that. And, everything kind of lends itself to, this rolling kind of thesis, even though the topics may not necessarily be related in your brain when you think about them offhand. So that's the main show that I do. I am also on Duckfeed TV's The Level Podcast, which is at thelevelpodcast.com, which is a weekly video game roundtable show. We talk about what we've been playing. We have a multiplayer question. We talk about news, that kind of thing. I am not on there every week. I kind of show up at random. So you can actually go to the Level Podcast and click on the hosts and find me, and then you can see all the stuff that I've done for that show. But I've been on that show for 10 years. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you are definitely a professional podcaster.
I've been around for a minute. I don't know if I'm professional, but I'm something. I'm old anyway. As folks will find out when we're talking about games, and I'm going back to Atari 2600. So.
I mean, that is a pretty old console, but I also attribute that I attribute people having played that console, not because they were around when it was a thing, but because their parents were around when it was a thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing Nintendo 64 while growing up, and my dad used to tell me about the Tron game, and I thought it was like a Nintendo 64 game. That was incredible that he played when he was a kid. And then he's like, oh, it's for Atari. I'm like, what the fuck is an Atari?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. See, like you're talking about, oh, my dad told me about this thing that he played. Well, I was playing the Atari 2600 with my dad. So that's the first game that I can ever think about was an Atari 2600 game that I used to co-op with my dad. So it was called Wizards of War, WOR, and boy, it had a lot of screen flicker. It was basically like this maze, sort of like a Pac-Man situation, but you got a little dude whose little outline actually looks like he's holding a schlong and shooting with that, but like he's theoretically he has a chain gun or something, and he's shooting what look to be dinosaurs. I mean, like they're just very basic, low res things, right? But as you shoot them, they end up speeding up, and more of them show up, and then like the music in the background is like increasing in its energy and stuff, and that game used to creep me out, and I used to get like high anxiety and stuff playing that game. So maybe that's part of why I didn't play horror for a long time, although now I am like horror game aficionado. But you know,
right, you have like what 600 hours in Resident Evil 6 or something like that's what you told me one time.
Yeah, it's like 260 something hour. I don't know how many people I have run through that game. So but to be fair, that's not really a horror game. I would say that's like an action game with some creepy gooby guys in there sometimes. But
right. So when you originally sent me the video for Wizards of War, WOR, I thought it was Pac-Man for the Atari.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And I thought, oh man, they subjected Jala to that horrible when Pac-Man moves.
Well, so like I actually don't have a whole lot of memories about the Atari 2600. I played Wizard of War a lot. And then I also played like Pitfall. I played Pitfall quite a bit. The damn Scorpions. And like Q*bert. And that's like the main stuff I remember from that. But then I had an NES, and I had that for a long time from there. So, but that was like the only time I ever got my dad to play video games with me ever. So
I see. I mean, I don't remember. I think I was on a show with somebody. No, it was with Friday Night Gamecast, the one time that I was on with my wife. I told them the story of me playing Pilot Wings with my dad, and my dad taking the controller away and not wanting to give it back. And my wife was like, "You've never told me that story." I'm like, I just remembered.
Yeah.
Like, I was so mad he wouldn't give it back. And like that's the only time where he's actually like played a game with me. The other time he was just sitting there looking at me watching playing games, but you know.
I remember because I listened to that episode. So.
That was such a fun episode. I love the guys. They're great.
Absolutely. So
yeah. So you also sent me Legend of Zelda, the original one for the NES.
Yes, it's very funny.
Tell me about that.
It's funny because number one, I never beat that game as a child because like, how are you going to figure out? So some of the things about Legend of Zelda, the original is like, say for example, some of the dungeons are so hard to get to and there's no hint as to how to get them, get to them to open them up. Like there's one dungeon that you have to go like north 5 times and to the west 7 times, some nonsense like that. And then go back this way in order to find the dungeon. And like, unless you had like the Nintendo Tricks hotline or the little, cheat codes or something, like there's no way you would know how to do that. So like most of the time I was just wandering around and fighting guys and just looking around and maybe I'd go in a dungeon, that kind of thing. I mean, I did later retro game it and then beat it, but like at the time, mostly I was just awestruck by like the title screen, the music, and the way that when the title screen pulls up, it sits for a second and then it'll scroll through and it tells you like the story of what's going on. And then it shows you all the items and stuff that you can get. And then, while listening to that theme, I was just like overwhelmed with like, ooh, look at all this stuff I can find in this game. This looks cool. And this is the story. It has a story. Neat. Cause Wizards of War, there's nothing. You just have basically Pac-Man with a man shooting something out of his schlong at dinosaurs. Okay. Right. So I was like, oh, that's really neat. And the funny thing is that even though I really liked Legend of Zelda, the original, and I did play Legend of Zelda 2, even though I did play later Zelda games, like I kept on every once in a while periodically dipping into the series, I never got into any other Zelda game. Like I've never gotten on board with it. I played Breath of the Wild. I played Link to the Past. I played like the Oracle of Seasons, I think it was, on the GBA. And, every once in a while, I also went and rented an N64 at some point because I didn't own that console, and then played, I think it was just the first one, like the Zelda 64.
Ocarina.
But, yeah, Ocarina of Time. So, I played a little bit of that, but I was really turned off by like, oh, he's a little kid. Bleh. I don't want to be a little kid. That's not cool. And this is something else that I'll say too. I really liked Link back when he had brown hair, because I have brown hair and every character is like blonde in every fucking video game. So like, I was just like, oh, it's like, oh, I can see myself in this game. There's a brown haired character that is the main character. Great. I love this. So, and then of course I watched the cartoon, which I'm going to be covering on my show sometime this year. I'm going to be talking about the Legend of Zelda cartoon that came on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. And I was a fan of that, even though I didn't like how Link was portrayed. But because that's not the Link that was in my head, right? So I was like, none of whatever this is, but I liked Ganon a whole lot. And Pig Ganon, like warthog looking Ganon, that's my Ganon. So...
none of these sexy muscle daddy Ganon that we have now. My God,
for sure. So like I played the hell out of that game. I didn't get anywhere. Like for a lot of these games when I had the NES, I didn't beat a whole lot of them. Like I played Legacy of the Wizard, which is a very cool dungeon explorer game that has really neat music. And in that one, I think it's part of the Faxanadu series or something like that. I never played anything else in the series. I only played the one game, and you can pick from one of a number of different people in this family. Like the grandmother, grandfather, I think are just hanging out at the house, but then you can play the mom and the dad, the little boy, the little girl, and then the pet, who is like a little monster critter guy. He looks like a dinosaur, a pink dinosaur. And you can, like, each of them has their own strengths in different areas of the dungeon that they have to clear in order to, like, awaken this dragon so you can kill it or something. But anyway,
it's a side scroller. Mm-hmm, okay. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I thought it was an RPG like Mother or something like that.
It's a side scroller, action platformy, puzzly kind of dungeon crawlery guy. So that one was one that I liked a whole heck of a lot for sure. So, but yeah, like I played a lot of stuff back in NES days. Like another one that I sent you was called Dragon Spirit, which if it had dragons or anything that looked fantasy, I was playing it no matter what. So this one is wild though, because Dragon Spirit is actually a shmup. And I didn't know it was a shmup because like it was at the rental place. And it has like this cover that has, okay, there's a guy with a sword and there's a dragon on the cover. I'm down. RPG looks like, okay, great. I'm here for it. And no, you get into it. And then like when you're watching the opening cutscene, Homeboy ends up raising his sword into the air and then turns into a dragon and then is then fighting the hordes of evil as a dragon, which granted is going to be a lot more effective than being like Homeboy with sword. But, like I did not expect to become a dragon. And then like as you get power ups, you get extra heads and change colors and have different breath weapons. It's really kind of cool.
Oh my God. This looks.
It's baller. And
okay. So like it looks super impressive. This is an NES game?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I was not expecting to ever see a shmup on NES that looked like Oh, he has 2 heads now, and he's shooting double fireballs.
He gets 3 heads at some point and has, all. He also the main dude who turns into a dragon can also have like phantom miniature dragons and be like triple shots and stuff like that. So
that is awesome. I'm sending it to a buddy of mine that loves shmups, and I'm pretty sure he's never heard of it. Otherwise,
well, I will tell you too. Like
one time,
it's so bug nuts too because like. So like it has this whole story at the beginning and then like in between levels, it'll have a little bit more story. And like, it's just fun because it's like, okay, so this guy fought off the ancient evil and then he fell ill after his fight and then died. But then his twin children, they had to take up the mantle and then the bad guy took one of them and then the other one whose name is Lace. You're a dude named Lace with a sword who turns into a dragon. I mean, like, okay, why not? Some of the stuff I played back then was just real bug nuts. So that's cool. But then like the first level, you go to the Paleozoic era and then there's like meteors falling and stuff. Like the meteors who killed off the dragons. No, I mean the dinosaurs. It wasn't that. It was really me. I was a dragon and I was killing everything back then. I was what caused the mass extinction. So why not? Sure. There's another level later that's called. Well, there's another level later that's called like Graveyard, but it's the moon. It's the freaking moon, and I'm like, okay, sure, why not? All right, we'll go with that.
It just seems like when games were ported back then, were brought over, translators were just like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. Let me just make some shit up and just started throwing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a Zero Wing situation there. I also played Zero Wing on Genesis, so yeah, Zero Wing had some wild translations. That's the all your base. that came from Zero Wing.
Okay, all right, all your base. Yes, okay, now I know which one that is.
Yeah.
Did you ever? I think it was Mega Man X5, where
I played that one.
Like the guy that translated it was a massive fan of Guns N' Roses, and like all the robot masters are named like after a member of Guns N' Roses because he didn't know what to name them.
I don't remember if it was that one. I don't remember which one that was, but yeah. So for sure, but
so funny.
Yeah, so I mean, like I played stuff like that, and like Bubble Bobble, A Boy and His Blob. I didn't get anywhere. I just liked the fact that you had jelly beans. I was a really big fan of jelly beans. And it was cool that they had powers, and I didn't do anything in that game. I never got anywhere, but like I had fun playing it anyway. And I was like, ooh, what other flavors of jelly beans are there? Like now. Even now, my mouth is watering talking about them, thinking about these little NES jelly beans on the screen.
Didn't they remake that for like PlayStation 3 and Xbox or something like that?
They remade it at some point. Yeah, and I think I even own it on some console or something or Steam. I don't know. I think I have it. I just have not gone back to play it because backlog. So
Right. Yeah,
but
I've never played that game, but I have seen it. And it looks, especially that original version, looks very, very interesting. The color palette that they decided to use was a choice.
Yeah, for sure. And, again, it's just like when you're a kid, it's like a lot of what I found when I was thinking about the games for NES that really were important to me. I'm just like, I realized that my imagination was in overdrive trying to fill in the blanks because there's not a lot of information that you're given, in these games. Right. And so like, as the system grew and changed and people learned how to better utilize it, and you had stuff like Kabuki Quantum Fighter, finger guns at Josh from Still Loading, and things like that, like you had some really cool stuff going on, like some of the use of the hardware was amazing, and it looked really freaking good. But like, some of those earlier games, like they look like Atari games, they just do. They look pretty bad. But like, yeah, I played other stuff. I played like Addams Family, Fester's Quest, and all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, especially the ones that were co-op. I like co-op. I have liked it since the dawn of time. So, I played from the Mac Venture games. I played Deja Vu a lot because anybody who listens to my show knows that I love detective stuff. And Deja Vu is where you play like a detective who has lost his memory and you're trying to solve all this different stuff and also figure out who the hell you are. So it's great. So Did that.
It's like a real like detective game, like with note, pen, and paper and everything. Oh wow.
Yeah, like I also did stuff like I played Uninvited, which is also in the Mac Venture series, but that one was scary. And again, like I had already discovered, I got major anxiety just playing like the nonsense Pac-Man looking Wizards of War. So like I didn't need any more of that in my life, especially with my mom telling me, if you play anything scary or watch anything scary, you're going to have nightmares. And so I would anytime I did, because I listened. So yeah, but like there were also a lot of really good licensed games back then, like Darkwing Duck, Chippendales Rescue Rangers, and of course DuckTales. Who can say anything bad about the DuckTales NES game?
DuckTales is so good that it influenced Shovel Knight. The most fun part of Shovel Knight is DuckTales.
Bouncing on there, just like you do a Scrooge McDuck. So yeah, but stuff like Double Dragon. Also Tetris. Who didn't play Tetris at that time? So. Yeah. But so those are some of my NES titles that I played a lot of.
Recently I found the Batman Returns game on Super Nintendo, and it's a very fun beat 'em up. And I was playing it, right, and I was like, this looks very familiar. I swear I've played this before, but it wasn't on the Super Nintendo. And I was talking to Threk the other day, and I told him about it. And he says, "Oh, you mean this one?" And he sends me a video of the exact game that I was thinking about. And I don't know if it's like a downgraded port that came out when the game released, but I remember that game being a lot of fun and impossible to beat. But also I was like 7 years old, so I had no motor skills. That like brought me back real hard to being at my neighbor's house, just playing that and Bart and the Alien Invaders or whatever that's called. And Dr. Mario, and none of us knowing how to play it, and all of us being like, who loses first, basically.
Yeah, for sure. So
yeah, that's as far as my NES experience goes, because I've tried to go back to it, and I just hit a wall immediately when starting to play anything. I don't know why.
It's tried. And rough. NES games are rough, man. I mean, like, there are some that were really well done, but like by and large, they're not well balanced. People are still trying to figure out at that era, how to make a game and how to make it playable and replayable and make sense and all of that stuff. So like, there's some good stuff and some stuff that's like, ooh, I want to like this. I want to like this. Wow, it's hard to like this. It's hard to actually play it. Like, it might be fun to watch somebody else play it, but I don't want to go through all of that, especially in our day and age when we've got save states and everything else. It's like, emulating it is a little bit easier than getting the actual hardware and trying to go back to it now.
Oh yeah. So that's why I love the Steam Deck so much, because I can go back to like these old games that I used to play like on the GameCube or 64 or whatever, and I can beat them without struggling. I purposefully downloaded the Smurfs game for the Game Boy. It's a fun platformer. The music is good, but it's filled with so much fucking bullshit. And the only way that I beat it is by safe stating. Because the final fight is against Gargamel, and you have to like have like an acorn drop specifically onto the balance, and then you have to jump on the balance on a specific spot, and Gargamel needs to walk to a specific spot so that the acorn can hit him. And you have to do that 3 times, and it even with save states, it was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you want a real challenge, try to play Street Fighter, the first Street Fighter.
No.
That's right.
I did that.
Violent shaking of the head. No.
Nope.
Right, right. But yeah, like so I'm a weird case because I didn't end up getting a handheld system until like way later. I got a Game Boy Advance, but that wasn't until I was like at the end of high school or in the beginning of college or something. So like I did play some Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff, but like a lot of the Game Boy stuff was retro, retro gaming it. So I did play something like Pokemon, for example. I played Pokemon Red and Gold or Yellow. But then, like, because I was retro gaming it, I didn't play it at the time when it was extant. So, like, I played it, but then I didn't play another Pokemon game until Sword, which I put 160 hours into because I was co-oping a lot of stuff and doing, like, the Dynamax dungeons and stuff. And I put a lot of time into that. But, like, there was this massive gap between those two games. So, but I did play Pokemon spin-offs. I played, what was it? Pokemon Puzzle League, which was on the Game Boy Advance. And then I also played Pokemon Stadium whenever I would rent in 64. And I would play Pokemon Stadium and I was very good at that game. And at Puzzle League because I like puzzle games, always have. But, I was playing like weird side stuff and then only played another mainline Pokemon game like so long later.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I did grow up playing Pokemon Blue, but I my favorite gen was Gen 2. And I probably didn't play another Pokemon until Diamond, and I kind of like hate played it for some reason. And then after that, I played X years down the line, and I loved X. X was really cool because you had like those Pokemon evolutions where you could basically turn your Pokemons into Super Saiyans and they would change forms and everything. And I just thought that was the coolest shit. But yeah, no, Pokemon has been like one of those where I took a break too in between.
Well, and then too, what's funny is I was thinking about it and I'm like, I'm also a weirdo when it comes to Digimon because I played one Digimon game. I only played one Digimon game and it's a game that nobody knows about. Digimon Digital Card Battle on the PlayStation 1. I played the crap out of that game. I loved that game. It took me a while to get into a card, trading card game and deck builder. That's not really a thing that I play like ever. But for some reason, I got into that one. I really loved it. And that was the one that I just, went off on. And that was like one of my two favorite play them in the middle of the night when I was in college games. So like the other one was Azure Dreams on PlayStation 1. And
so
Azure
before we go
Dreams,
into Azure Dreams, I remember when I did the episode with Rick Firestone and Aaron about Digimon Cyber Story, and you posted the Digimon card game, and I looked at it and I'm like, holy shit, I played this game. Like, you unlocked a memory immediately. I'm like, I rented this from my local game place thinking it was going to be like another Digimon World game. And I was miserable for a full weekend trying to figure out how to play this game, and I couldn't.
What's hilarious is that after I played Digimon Digital Card Battle, then I was like, oh, let me try Digimon World. And I'm like, what is this? This is like having a Tamagotchi. I don't want this crap. Literally crap. There's crap. They poop. You have to clean it. Like, what?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't want this. What is this? I'm like, Digimon as a show has like some scary horror looking freaky guys. And this is not the kind of badass thing I was hoping for.
And like the thing is, the 4 Digimon World games are insanely different. The first one is a virtual pet. The second one is a mystery dungeon type game. The third one is straight up a Pokemon game. And 4 is Diablo with Digimon. They're all insanely different. And they're all arguably good, except maybe the first one. That first one is rough.
Well, that's why I bounced off of Digimon as a series of games. So you can thank Digimon World for that. But yeah.
But if you like old RPGs, Digimon World 3 is where it's at. That one is very, very good. It's a very good game.
I'll keep that in mind for some time in the future when the backlog clears up a little bit.
Right.
And, the thing is, how it goes. It's like you've got the backlog and you're looking at the backlog. The backlog is staring back at you. And then there's a sale on a game. And then you're like, I think instead of playing these 700 other games I've got, I think I want this one over here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what am I doing this week?
And you put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Then you put it on the shelf and stare at it until the end of time.
And it's just there. And
What's it
it's always
do?
there for you to consider, but you never, ever open it. Yeah.
Right.
So
I have a bunch of those that I've like, I should play this. And then I'm like, no, I'm just going to play something else. I'll probably play Star Fox for like the 900th time.
yeah, well, actually, it's kind of funny because since I've been doing the level for so long, I've always been trying to present like new and different games every time I go on that show. So, like I'm always trying to play different weird, obscure things nobody's heard of most of the time. I mean, more recently, I've been playing bigger titles because I just don't have enough time to play all of the different stuff I would before.
Right.
But as a result, that meant that I didn't have a whole lot of time to go replay stuff that I played in the past. So like now that on my show, I'm covering some of my favorite video games. Now it's like, well, now I got to replay these for the first time in 20 years. Let's see how this is, So.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
I absolutely get it. It would be amazing if all of us could find like benefactors that would just pay for us to just live and play games, and that's it. That way we can play all of the games we want and experience them all over again. Because I have a shit ton of games that I want to replay from when I was a kid. And I'm looking at Azure Dreams right now.
Azure Dreams is it's rough.
It looks good.
It looks really rough. Good. I will tell you, I bounced the hell off of it like twice when I first started it up because it's a very, very early PS1 game. It is a remake of, I think it's a Game Boy Color game originally.
Okay.
I like the PlayStation 1 game better. I did play both. And the thing about it is that when it starts up, there's this weird little angel baby thing that comes and talks to you. And I was like, what is this? And then there's like the longest tutorial in the universe after that to teach you how to play the game. It's necessary because otherwise you run into that Digimon digital card battle situation where you don't know what the hell you're doing, right? You need that tutorial. But little Jala, just like big Jala, does not like tutorials. Never liked tutorials, so was like bounced off of it a lot. But if you can get past the tutorial, the game itself is super, super fun, and I'm absolutely going to be covering it on my show at some point too. So
is it like a quote unquote chess type game? Because I'm looking at some gameplay right now, and the character looked like it was on a chessboard, fought a couple of enemies, and then he just has free roam afterwards.
So here's what happens when you're walking around. It's 2.5D, so it's like like you have the camera pan all the way around, but like your character is always presented at 2.5, and you're walking around a dungeon, and in the dungeon sections, you have free reign to go around and do whatever you want, and time passes, just as you're sitting there or whatever. But once there's an enemy around, it goes to like a kind of like how you would see in like a Legend of Grimrock or something like that, where it's like each person has turns. And so if you don't move, the enemy doesn't move, and you're waiting until like, the next person goes or whatever. And so that allows you some time to consider your strategy, because everything about your situation in the tower is like affects how your performance is, not just your level and the level of your familiar, but also your height. Like, are you higher or lower than the enemy, and the element type of your familiar versus the familiar you're fighting. There's also traps everywhere and other stuff like that, different items you can use to affect enemies and, buff yourself and magic and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot that goes into that game. So for folks who are listening who have no idea what I'm talking about, so Azure Dreams is a dungeon crawler. It is I think it's a roguelike. The dungeon there's only like certain floors that have a specific, layout. Other, like the first floor and like I think the fourth floor or something, and a few other ones have a very specific layout. The rest of it's randomized. You can go into the tower with only 5 items, and that includes your familiar. So usually that would be like a sword, a shield, your familiar, a wind crystal or something, so you can go back home to the town. And then there's like a town building part with a romance dating sim part and all this other stuff back home, when you're not in the tower. But in the tower, then it's like you have a familiar or two familiars, and they fight against other stuff. So it's sort of like Pokemon, but then you're also able to attack. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of other stuff. It's like dungeon crawlery. It's a lot of stuff. It's very fun, very cool. And yeah, there's 40 floors in the tower, but it's really hard. You have to keep on going back to town. You lose your level every time you leave, but your familiars keep their levels. And so long as like your items keep their levels. So if you buff your weapons and make them stronger, and buff your shield and make that stronger, then that will be stronger the next time you go in. So you need to buff your equipment and up your familiars levels. And then, just every time you go in, you're level 1. So, you've got your item limit, but there's a lot of stuff to the game that makes it really fun.
It looks to me like, from what I'm looking at and from what you described, it looks to me like a combination of Crypt of the Necrodancer, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Pokemon.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's
with a little bit of Hades thrown in.
It is really just like this evolutionary dead end. It was made by Konami, so I mean, like, it was a big company behind it, but like it never went anywhere. There was like a spiritual successor that was not nearly as good that came out. I think it was the DS or something. I've never played it because I didn't want my heart broken. Knowing that it's not as good as Azure Dreams, I don't want to.
So I just put it on my list. I have like a very long list of games that I've been adding to as I've been recording these. I just added it because it looks fucking rad.
It is cool. So cool. It is cool. And I have always been a fan of a dungeon crawler. I love dungeon crawlery games. So that's one that I did that's like dungeon crawler, but also it's like Pokemon, but also it's so many other things. It's a tactical game. It's whatever. Because my first RPG, to talk about that, because I play a lot of RPGs and always have, my first one was Shining Force on the Sega Genesis.
Yes.
Because I went from NES to Sega Genesis, and then, the console wars and stuff, you had one or the other. Like, I didn't hate Nintendo, I just didn't have one. So, like, I got the Sega Genesis, then I had the Sega CD, then I had the Sega Saturn, then I had the Sega Dreamcast, And then I got an NES later, or like a Super NES rather, later, after it was no longer extant, and that's when I played Chrono Trigger. Like, I didn't play that at the time, and even though I played Final Fantasy 3 or 6, whichever one you want to call it, like, I played that game, and I played Final Fantasy 5 a lot too. I played those emulated, like I was retro gaming those too. I didn't play those again, like, when they released. So it was real weird. And even though I'm a JRPG person, or an RPG person in general, and Genesis isn't really known to be like the RPG machine, I played RPGs on it. So Shining Force is a strategy RPG.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I also have like this, I'm not wording right now, this thought or idea or whatever you want to call it, that even though the Genesis doesn't have a lot of RPGs, the ones that it has are actually really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've always been interested in the Shining series. I'm gonna play it one day.
Ooh, can I make a recommendation? When you go to Shining Force 1, my recommendation is to play the Shining Force GBA remake, the Shining Force Resurrection of the Dark Dragon. That version is, to me, like, additive. A lot of times when you have a remake or something that's way after the fact, it's actually, kind of worse in a lot of ways. We'll talk more about that when we talk about Lunar at some point in the future. But right. But
it's on the list.
Yeah,
I actually think I have it on the Steam Deck already installed, but I'll make sure and get that rolling.
Well, the Resurrection of the Dark Dragon has a little bit of a better translation of what's going on, so it's better than the original in that way. And then there's also some added mechanics and a new character, but those mechanics and that character, I think, are, again, additive to the game rather than subtractive. So
okay.
So yeah.
All right.
Shining Force was like my favorite series for the longest time. And so I'm going to be talking about Shining Force 3, which is my favorite of the Shining Force games, later on this year. So that's on the roster. That one was for Sega Saturn, and I played the hell out of that game.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I always kind of knew that the Saturn was a thing growing up. I've never seen one in person. I've never played one.
Well, you want to know what?
I've always been interested about it.
I would have never had a Sega Saturn except, okay, here's another story time. So, one of my favorite games of all time is Lunar, as you might imagine from me mentioning it 7 times so far. So, Lunar and Lunar 2. Lunar 2 specifically is my favorite one, like the favorite of the two of those. And when I was reading through some materials in interviews with Victor Ireland from Working Designs, he was saying that the remakes were on the Sega Saturn because they were in Japan. And so I bought a Sega Saturn, or I asked for a Sega Saturn for Christmas so that I could play the Lunar games when they came out on Sega Saturn, but then they didn't in the US. They came out on the PlayStation. So I was heartbroken. I had other games. I had plenty of other games on the Sega Saturn that I played, but I had bought it expressly for that one game, and then it ended up coming to a different console.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had a friend who was very, very loving and kind, and she bought me a PlayStation so that I could go and buy the Lunar games when they came out on the PlayStation. And that's how I got a PlayStation.
What an amazing friend.
Right?
So I do have a little bit of a story with Lunar. I bought Lunar Silver Star Story Complete from a mom and pop retro game store back in Puerto Rico. And I got it for $20, and it was the double case with the black label, the cloth map inside, everything for $20. And I started playing it, and the instruction booklet had like how to do everything all the way up until the fight in the boat, like at the beginning of the game, where Luna, I think it's her name, she jumps. And I played it all the way up until there. And that when I got to that part, I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of like tried to brute force myself through it, but I just couldn't figure it out.
Here's the secret.
My English wasn't so good.
Oh, yeah?
And then RPG, so, So what's the secret?
Well, the secret to that in the remake of Lunar, because that whole beginning sequence in a lot of the game itself is drastically different in the Sega CD version. But the secret in that particular part is that you have to have Luna a certain level so she has a certain spell so she can do what she needs to do to help with the fight. So... So, and that's kind of like the running thing with the Lunar games. Like a lot of times it's like you just have to unlock a skill that you haven't gotten yet. And if you don't have that skill yet, wander around a little bit and then you'll find it and then you'll be fine. So. Okay.
So basically to keep in mind when I play it, just grind as much as possible.
I wouldn't say that it's actually a really grindy game. At least not from my recollection, and even in my replay of the Sega CD version, which I'm doing right now, I'm almost at the end of that. It's just that, like, you might need to wander around a little bit, but it's not like the level of a Final Fantasy or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination. The fact that it is not grindy is one of the things I love about Lunar. It's not a grindy game. So... there are places where you would have an opportunity to, or if you don't get enough random battles or something, but it's not like you're going to be grinding for, I got to gain 20 levels or something like that. It's like a couple of levels, maybe, something like that.
So is it like one of those RPGs that exploits weaknesses, or is it one that requires you to buff, or is it just one that you kind of like progress as you're playing, and by the time you get somewhere where you have to do whatever, you should be where you're at if you have done whatever pops in front of you until then?
So with the way that the Sega CD versions and the way that the remakes play is different. So, but the commonality between them is that the placement of your people is important because your little guys have to go across the map to go attack. And so, like, you want to place people, you want to protect your party members in the back, you want to have the people who have multiple attacks be up at the front and be able to, choose the targets that will maximize their number of hits and things like that. So there is some strategy to that, and knowing like your turn order, and then, based on this turn order, who do I need to go do what, So it's more about like that kind of a strategy more than it is, anything else. Like there are weaknesses. Yes, there are some elemental weaknesses and things like that, but it's not really so much at play. Status effects, I never really use status effects too much when your party has a status effect spell. I will do buffs for sure, but like, not so much like status effect things to try to make things go to sleep or whatever, poison them.
Right. Okay.
So. All
right. The whole strategy placing thing kind of sounds to me like, what is it? Trails to Asher? The only Trails game that I've played like 2 hours of, because I have most of them, but I haven't played any of them. It kind of does that thing where as you're fighting, your characters move in the field, and when you attack, wherever your character attacks, he kind of like stays there. He doesn't go back to the position where he was before. Is that Lunar does something like that?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I don't remember anything from Lunar. So
yeah. So that's how that goes. At least so far as my recollection, it has been a good long time since I played the remake. But definitely for the Sega CD versions and everything, which I have memorized like the back of my hand. Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So
all right.
It is not a secret. It is not a secret that I am not as much a fan of the remake of Lunar 1. I like the remake of Lunar 2 for the most part. I find it to be mostly an improvement, but the first one overhauled so much about the original game. So
that's the remake for the Saturn, or is it Silver Star Story Complete?
Silver Star Story Complete. The remake on Saturn was Silver Star Story Complete. It was just in Japan, they released it on the Sega Saturn. And then over here, they released it on the PlayStation 1. Which ended up being a good thing, because on the Sega Saturn hardware, I do have import copies. The little screen, like the actual video is like teeny tiny because of the compression and stuff on the disc and like the limitations of the hardware. So it is actually a good call that they put it on the PlayStation 1.
Okay. So. That's very interesting. I am very excited to replay them, because also back then, the first time when I played them, I was like 13 or 14. So I was in that age when boys can only think about murdering humans in RPGs. And because there weren't any humans, I kind of like was not really paying too much attention to it. I was like, I'll just go play Final Fantasy VI. That has guard dogs and soldiers and stuff that I can kill.
Right. Because in Lunar, you're not fighting people. You're fighting critters and stuff, like monsters and critters and things. So, yeah. Well, and then too, both of the Lunar games are really like massive love stories at their core. So like, for somebody who's not got that bent in the first place, that's kind of like, eh. But for me, when I was 13 going on 14 is when I played Lunar 2, and we had just moved from Florida over to Houston. And so I was alone, and my family was all broken up because my sister had moved out and my dad was trying to sell the house back in Florida. So it was me and my mom living with my grandparents, and I was in a new school. And I was like in 8th grade, which is a terrible time, and then, so it hit at just the right time where, like I laughed and cried with it, and it was just exactly what I needed at that moment to, feel uplifted and, push on, like the main theme, of the game was really put forth in the, advertisements for it, which I actually still have a copy that I cut out of a magazine of the advertisement for Lunar 2, which has Lucia, which is one of the main characters on the front, and behind her is like the world of Lunar and the blue star, and then just the black void of space, and it just says, "In the darkest hour, hope springs eternal." And I just put that on my wall, and I just had that, and I looked at it all the time. So
that's so fucking cool.
So, I mean, like, I recognize it's not the best RPG in all of time or anything like that, but also it was exactly what I needed at the time I needed it. And I still love it to this day. And I get choked up thinking about it, talking about it and everything, because just I love that game so much. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely get that. There are some games, that just hit right at the moment you need them. For me, growing up, the one that like clicked like that and just made me realize, oh shit, games are fucking awesome, was Star Fox 64. And I had played a shit ton of games before. My first game was Sonic 2. I played Mario 64, Super Mario World, the Batman game that I talked about earlier, all of those. And while I had fun, none of them were like, I want to do this for a very long time. Like, I just want to play forever. And, there were like hard times in my life where, a game had just come out and I would play it and it would be exactly what I needed. I went through a very bad breakup in my early 20s, and the game that was there to pick me up was Watch Dogs. Fucking awful game. Terrible game. And it was the one that kind of helped me get through the whole thing. And at the end of the game, I was like, I feel better. I can keep going on. And like that, there's been like a bunch of games, there was a summer that I just spent at my grandma's the entire summer. And I would just sit in the afternoons in the balcony with my Game Boy Advance, just playing like Kingdom Hearts and listening to Ludacris, or playing Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors and listening to Don Omar or Daddy Yankee or some shit on my CD player. And, that was a great summer. And all I had was like 2 or 3 games just to get through the whole thing. So, that's something that people who don't play games don't understand. Why we love them so much and why we're like at times feral. At least I am.
Well, I will tell you something that's really interesting in going back to, for example, the first Lunar on Sega CD, because like that game blew me away when I first saw it, because even though there were like the TurboGrafx and stuff, that had better graphics, or comparable graphics, like Ys, for example. Some of the Ys games had amazing stuff going on. But like I didn't have that system. So the one that I had, I went from the Sega Genesis to the Sega CD. And then when I got the Sega CD, Lunar was one of those first games. And it has this opening sequence that is super embarrassing 80s. Like at the time when I played it the first time, I was embarrassed by the song Fighting Through the Darkness that it plays, and a little opening animation thing, which isn't really animation. There's like 3 frames of animation and the rest of it's stills. But I loved it. I loved that there was an opening. There was like, it was like watching an animated thing, sort of, and like It had like a theme song and it had all this stuff. And then, like there's voice acting and, cutscenes and stuff, and in a way that I hadn't seen before, because on Genesis, you didn't have all of that movement. You had still frames and then some text underneath, and before I even played the game for the first time, I just booted it up and just stared at it. And I just watched the opening, just kind of like how I did with Legend of Zelda the first time I got that game. I just sat there and looked at the title screen and just let it scroll and listened to the music and just kind of like soaked it in before I even did anything. And, the culture of savoring a game like that isn't a thing that we have anymore, because everybody has so much in, we're inundated all the time with media. There's just access to everything. And that's great. But that also means 7,000 things in the backlog, and that you don't spend time with a game, like really digging into it and replaying it a whole lot, unless you specifically set out to do that. Cause you're like, well,
right.
And like you mentioned it, you're like, oh, well, I could play this game again for the 7,000th time. Like you have to make that choice though, because you can do that. And then, you can play that again. But then, say, for example, in my case, I'm one of those people who, I'm on a podcast about video games. I have assignment play I've got to play. I've got other things I have to do. So like, yes, I can either play this thing that I love again, which I would love to do, or I can make content,
Right. And I know exactly what you mean, because I am on that bullshit right now. Like I have to play Star Ocean Second Story R because the patrons chose it. And I started playing it, and I somebody's coming into my room. I don't know what the hell's going on. Hold the dog? What for? Oh.
The dog has a
dog.
oh my goodness. What is the name?
Here's Luna. Luna.
Luna! Oh, goodness. And I love the little outfit. Goodness.
Yeah, she's cold, so they put like her jammies and then a dress over the jammies.
Oh my goodness. Very cute.
Yeah, she's just gonna be a good dog and sit there. I forgot where I was going before they threw the dog at me.
You were talking about Star Ocean, having to play it.
Right. Right. So the patrons chose it. I started playing it. I had a little bit of a rough time getting into it, but after like the first 2 hours, I got into it, and it's really, really good.
Yeah.
But Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth came out, and I don't want to do anything else other than play that game because the main character is amazing. Ichiban is one of the greatest main characters of all time. And then the story, what's going on in the story just has me hooked. I just want to, that's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else.
So when I was playing Dishonored for my episode, which drops, as of the time we're recording, it drops next week, but I don't have no idea where it will be in relation to the dropping of this episode anyway, Jala-Chan.place. So when I was going through and replaying all of that IP for those episodes, it was like I was in the middle of playing it. I was going great guns on Dishonored, and then a friend of mine who is very sweet bought me Baldur's Gate 3. So, I mean, I had a hard time. Like, I played like 20 hours and then I had to force myself to set it down and not look at it. And that was so hard to do. I love Dishonored. I love Dishonored. But also, big RPG based on D&D. Oh my God. You know, and it's Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, come on, you know.
Right. And like Baldur's Gate 3 has had like this massive hype machine since it came out. And the game's what, like 3 months old already? Usually at 3 months old, like a game is, nobody's talking about it. And people are still talking about this game like it just came out, and people are still just as crazy about it. And I bought 2 copies of the game and I haven't started either.
Well, that's better for you right now if you have assignment play going. Yeah, for sure. But the funny thing is that I wasn't even going to buy it. I wasn't even going to buy a copy of it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. But I just intentionally wasn't going to look at it because, you know, I have other stuff going on. That's a very big game, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm like, it's all right. I'll probably buy it when it goes on sale 2 years from now and then play it then, you know. That was a surprise, and I was very happy to play the game, you know, like super impressed with it when I started it up and started playing it, but like, you know, and it's just kind of funny because I wasn't going to go down that rabbit hole. And meanwhile, I still have Octopath Traveler 2 that I had pre-ordered that's sitting there that I haven't even booted up because I don't have any time to look at it. And there's no way I do now that I have Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm like 40 hours in or something, you know?
You know, the Baldur's Gate 3, I bought it because I saw that you were playing it on Steam Deck. I'm like, holy shit, it's on Steam Deck. And then Eric Guest from The Unlockables is like, oh, I want to play a co-op with somebody. I'm like, shit. Jala said it can run on Steam Deck. I can probably get it to run on my computer if it does run on Steam Deck. And Eric wants to play. I'll just buy it. And I never played it. And then it comes out on PS5, and I'm like, I would rather play it on PS5, so I bought it on PS5, and I still haven't played it. So,
yeah. Well, and then
someday.
Too, I have friends who want to co-op it, and I'm like, well, I don't want to co-op it with you until I've actually played the game. You know, like I want to play the game through and have my own decisions and see what my own story comes out to be, and then I can play an alternate timeline with you guys. You know, but then that hasn't happened either, and I don't know when that's going to happen. You know,
I think that's one of those games that you have to treat like a D&D game night because it's just so big and there's so much stuff that can go wrong.
Oh, speaking about D&D, let me tell you about another old game that I played. So,
yes, please.
I have a story about it too. So on Sega Genesis, I played Dungeons and Dragons: Warriors of the Eternal Sun. And now that is like you have like an overworld map. You can make your characters and stuff. You have an overworld map where you're traveling around. Basically, you and your whole town have been warped from wherever you were before to like this weird valley, and you don't know why, and you don't know what's going on. And you basically are a scouting party for the village, trying to figure out what's going on, and you know how are you going to do anything, you know. And so you go around and there's like the overworld map, but then you can also go into dungeons where it's like a first person dungeon view. And then it's like active battles and stuff like that, where, there isn't like a turn based thing, but it looks like Legend of Grimrock in those parts. Okay. So
is this a point and click game?
It is when you're in the battles on the map. Okay. I don't think it is I think you just run around with the D-pad when you're playing on the actual hardware, like on the actual thing.
Got it.
But
don't lick my shirt.
So here's my story. I rented this game. I was very excited. And so I plugged it in. I played a whole bunch. I played, turned it off. Then the next day I came back because it was a weekend, and I came back and I was like, okay, I'm ready to continue my adventure. I'm so excited. And it was gone. The save data was gone. And I had no idea what was going on with that. So then I played and turned it off. And then, I didn't get as far because I was like, let me turn this off and see what happens. So I turned it off, turned it back on again, and the save data was gone again. And I was like, crap. And then I was gone. That was the end of my rental period for that weekend. So the next weekend I rent the same game again. I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to leave my system on, because I don't want it to lose the save data. Right. And I'm only renting it anyway. It's fine. So then I do that. But then when I leave the system on and then, go away and then come back later, it overheats and it's dead. So, so basically inside of the cartridge, there's a little, there's a battery or something that keeps the save data going. And that had died or something. And so I never got to get super far into the game back when I had it on the hardware. I did end up emulating it later and playing a large portion of it, but I still didn't beat it because I got sidetracked, because that's what happens these days. I got sidetracked and I never got back to it. But one day
that's usually the issue.
One day I will go back and beat that game because it is a fun D&D game. So
I played a D&D beat 'em up with Thrak and Burger.
Chronicles of Mystara?
There's Probably. Two of them. I think, I think
Tower
so.
of Doom and Chronicles of Mystara. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are good.
Probably. We played them on Xbox because they were $2 for the two of them. And the three of us were bored, so we just went through them and they were a ton of fun.
Oh, I have a story about that one too. I have a story about that one too. So I played them on an arcade cabinet that was at the little gas station down a block from my house. And so I went over there with a whole roll of quarters and it was just me and I was playing it. And I was so excited. I was so excited because I got to the end of it and I only had 1 quarter left. And then at the very end of the game, I think this was the Towers of Doom one or something. Anyway, you fight a big dragon at the end. And it's so the last little choice it has is, okay, you can either go on to fight the dragon or you can go back to town and rest up. And because I was low on health and I had 1 quarter left, I was like, we're going to go back to town and rest up. But then when I did, and then I tried to fight the dragon, he was invincible and I died and I had no more quarters. Oh. And then so later on, I saved up money and I was going to go back and go play it again. And I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to do it for real. And it was gone. It was no longer there. It was just gone. I did eventually go back to it later, co-op, and played, both of those games, beat both of those games multiple times, co-op with people on, Steam. But that was my heartbreaking story of when I played it.
That's awful. Oh, that's almost going to the arcade and seeing that Time Crisis is finally free and you have enough money to get through the entire game, and then at the end you just cannot figure out how to kill the bad guy and you just keep dying and dying. Oh,
absolutely. So
video games, they're so great. So many great stories. I've been having such a great time with these episodes because people's stories are there are parallels, right? So there's parallels that everybody can kind of relate to, when a certain console came out or some games that, people played and they kind of felt the same way about them. But there's also such diverging, crazy stories, going to the gas station. Who has an arcade machine at the gas station?
These people did.
And then hanging out there all day trying to beat a game. And then at the end, You can't, and it's awful.
Well, and then also that's the way that I ended up finding the Darkstalkers games was, again, a gas station. I went to a 7-Eleven. There it was in the gas station. I was like, ooh, what's this game? And then I played this game in the gas station. And then, like I later on found it, on console, and I was like, oh yeah. And those were totally my jam. I loved the Darkstalkers games so much. So. I played a lot of fighting games, actually. Like I started with Street Fighter 2, the new Challengers, the one that had Cammy in it, because Cammy is my girl. And, I played the hell out of Street Fighter since forever. But then, like, I was telling you, like, I played Primal Rage and Eternal Champions and all these terrible fighting games and stuff. I never really got into Mortal Kombat. Like, I played it, but I wasn't really into it. I did do, like, X-Men versus Capcom, or X-Men versus Street Fighter is I think what it is.
Yes, X-Men versus Street Fighter.
I forget, because I also played Marvel versus Capcom. My favorite fighting game is actually Capcom versus SNK 2, which is a Dreamcast title originally in Japan. They released it in America.
Like the insane load times.
No, it doesn't have insane load times. At least not on the Dreamcast version that I had. That was an import, but it's a very good game.
There was an SNK. Yeah, there was a Capcom and SNK game. Capcom and SNK game. There we go. That had massive load times. And I don't remember what console it was for. Was it for the PlayStation 1?
Well, here's the thing.
It's gonna drive me crazy.
They did bring Capcom versus SNK 2 to the PlayStation 1 in America, but it was Capcom versus SNK 2 EO, which is Easy Operation, and they changed some stuff when they brought it to the PS1. And from everything I have ever heard, familiar. It was not good. But the Dreamcast one, thumbs up. I played the hell out of the game. That game gave me calluses. I had player's callus because of that game. So I also did a lot of Samurai Showdown. I played a lot of Samurai Showdown. Virtua Fighter, Virtual On, I think. The one where I think it's Sega Saturn. You are playing as big robots or power suits or something like that, and you're fighting.
That sounds familiar. Virtual On, yes.
Saturn.
Virtual on Sega AM. No, that's the creator. What the hell?
I don't think that the Sega CD would have been able to run it, so it must have been Saturn. But,
okay, arcade, Sega Saturn, and then Windows, Dreamcast, PS2, 360, PlayStation Network 4, and Vita.
Yep.
Okay.
Fun game.
That one,
so.
I have seen gameplay of that one, and that one looks great. It's kind of like for lack of a better word, a Gundam arena fighter.
Yeah,
basically.
It's basically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks pretty fun. I should probably get my Saturn emulator running and dive into those, because I have a buddy that told me about a game called Saturn Sun, Solar Gun. It's basically Star Fox, but for the Saturn.
Okay. Gotcha.
So Eclipse Sun, I don't remember the name. It looks really fucking cool, because it kind of does that like the digitized sprites of like real stuff, and the whole world is kind of like digitized sprites. And it from the video that I saw gameplay, it looks really fun. So
cool.
I do got to get the Saturn going, because I have a list.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. But I also played. Let me see, Bloody Roar. I loved Bloody Roar 3. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You ever played the GameCube one?
No, I never had a GameCube. Like a boyfriend I was with at one point had a GameCube, and then I would sometimes play it, but like I didn't get to play that one. So
okay. If you can emulate it, I would suggest you do, because that game is fucking awesome. It is GameCube's Tekken, for lack of a better word. It's so much fun. It's great. Oh,
cool.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. So like it's weird, right? Because like when I'm looking at this whole long list that I made, trying to brainstorm, okay, like what were the games that really stood out to me? Like you can see, I played a lot of Mega Man, I played a lot of Sonic, I played Mario, I played all the, traditional stuff that everybody played, those action platformery type things. But then I was
Right.
like, okay, what are the weirdo titles? What weirdo titles did I play? And it's like The Mansion of Hidden Souls. Okay, that's a weirdo. Or Amber Journeys Beyond. That's like another, that's a point and click adventure game. And I still play adventure games. So that's still in my DNA. You know, puzzle games, weird puzzle games are in my DNA. Like all these oddball titles that are just kind of experimental, like Azure Dreams. I still play weird experimental games. That's like so my thing, you know? But then lots and lots of RPGs and then fighting games. You know, like one would not really think to correlate those two because, like, you know, one of them is Twitch based, highly Twitch based and everything. And the other one is just real chill. But I have my moods, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you can probably like make up the excuse that they're all anime. So
Yeah.
maybe you just like anime.
Well, I was a super otaku for a long time, although I haven't been watching anime in like a long time because I have no time.
Yeah, no. I read manga before bed because that's as close as I'm going to get to anime because I don't have time for it.
No, I just don't have time. People are like, oh, you need to watch this TV series. I'm like, what time do you think I have? The only time I ever watch movies is like maybe if I go to a movie theater or if I have a watch party scheduled in my Discord server. That's the only time I watch anything. So it's like, if you send me a YouTube video, it better be under 10 minutes. I'm not going to watch it if it's over 10 minutes. I'm just going to be real, you know?
Are you going to have like community members just sending you like TikToks and like a bunch of them? And at the end, it's like you just watched an entire movie because they sent it to you by like 10-second snips?
Well, if they send it in 10-second snips over like a course of time, that would be okay. Like that's manageable. It's just don't expect me to sit down and watch it all at one time. I just don't have the time. So
I feel like I watched the final season of Family Matters on TikTok recently because my feed is just like snippets of it. Like I know that Eddie went to the police academy and Steve and Laura got together and Steve went into space. Like I don't remember watching this growing up, but now it makes sense.
that's great. Like all of my social media feeds are like, there's some folks that I follow on there. There are people I know. And then there's just like cute animals everywhere and very funny videos, very funny things and cute animals. That's like, you know, a lot of people talk about like, oh, social media is so terrible for you. Not mine. Mine is like all endorphins. I love it. It's great.
It's curated.
Yes, it's very curated, but yeah. So yeah, you'd mentioned it earlier, but Chakin the Forever Man. That's such a weird title that, you know, that was
Which
on
one?
the Sega Genesis. Chakin the Forever Man.
Oh, yes.
So
Remember
that
that
is
one. Yeah.
that one ended up having like a remake on, I think, the PS2 or something, but it looked terrible, so I never played it. So there's that. But the Sega Genesis game for that, it was based on an indie comic series by Robert A. Krause. And like those books are out of print. You can't get them. I don't believe you can get them digitally at this point or anything like that. But they were all published in like 1990 and thereabouts. And like the fans of that, it's like a super cult following, and fans of that are just like, oh, is there going to be a movie? Is there going to be a movie? Let's have another remake, you know, this kind of thing. The story of that game is basically that this guy was a swordsman, and he was such a good swordsman that he was foolhardy enough to challenge death and said, even death will fall to my swords. And so death comes to him and says, oh, yes, well, then let's have a fight. And if you win, then you can live forever. And if I win, then I get your soul, you know, and that kind of thing. And then Chakin wins. But the like forever life that he has is like, oh, yeah, all of your body is now decayed and looks like a zombie and you cannot die. And the only time that you can die is if you happen to kill all of the supernatural evil in the world. So then the game is
the quest.
yeah. So it's like
That's the
kind of a
quest.
Highlander, but like you
Okay.
look like a zombie pilgrim because of his hat. And like he's got two swords. And I will say, like, the way the game plays, it's hard as hell, but like you can point your swords in every direction. And something that I really appreciate about this game is the fact that like if you hold your sword out and an enemy runs into it, it's their fault, they die. It's great. I'm like, I'm so here for this, you know. And it's got some really neat art.
It does. I'm looking at it right now, and it looks pretty cool. You know, the premise of it even though it's way different. Kind of reminds me of Berserk. You know, this dude that's just out in the world just killing demons. And it looks fun. It definitely looks fun. I watched a video on Continue. They were playing this game. And, he has like a hammer and a sickle and stuff.
Yeah, you get those as you go through all the different areas fighting against. So basically how it is that you have like a hub where there's like this big chakra wheel thing. And you go, like, you have a bunch of different doors that those little spokes of the wheel correlate to. And you can go to those different doors, which lead to different areas with a different boss character at the end of them. So you go into one of these areas, and on the first level of each of these areas, you end up getting a new weapon. So you go through the first level of every one of these, and you get all these different weapons you can switch between. And as you once you're done with that, it like spits you back out to, the main hub again after you finish each of these levels. And then like you can go back through the same door to do level 2, level 3 or whatever until you get to the boss character for that area. And like you can check your progress by going back to that little chakra wheel, because there's like little purple blips that show that fill up as you go, until you totally fill that spoke to where you can get to that part and fight that boss or whatever. So yeah, but it's also really kind of neat because you start out with like this spin attack too. Like when you're in the air, you can double jump, and then if you hit the attack button, like you end up doing like all your swords come sticking out of your little ball self, and like you can just murderate everything. It's very cool. Between that and the fact that you can point your blades anywhere and stuff can just run into it, like, that's great. That was actually extremely rare at that time,
So it's like Sonic's, not the spin dash, like his homing attack, but
yeah, sort of. It's sort of like a Sonic situation.
Attack.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Sonic situation. So
that's pretty cool. I added it to the list. I'm definitely going to get that on the Steam Deck too.
Yeah, well, it's a very cool and interesting game for sure.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool. And the first game I ever played was Sonic 2, and I never had a Genesis until now that I got one recently. And I only have like Sonic 2, Sonic Spinball, and something else. I don't remember what else I have. And I've always wanted to get into it. I even thought about starting Sega collecting, but since I have the Steam Deck, I'm just going to start just downloading ROMs and trying them all out, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to find something really awesome if I keep looking.
I will tell you, play NBA Jam. I don't even play sports games, but I love NBA Jam.
Oh, yeah. I played the Super Nintendo version, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, like the fact that I mainly play one thing doesn't mean that I definitely don't have the oddballs from different genres sticking out in there that I played as well. But yeah, it's kind of funny because when I was making my list, I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Even though I'm a big horror game person now, like I played some Silent Hill back when that game had just first come out. I never played Resident Evil until 4. And then I played 4, and then I played all of the rest of them going back, and then I went forward from there. So, and I went back and I retro gamed, other stuff that I was missing, but, I didn't play it when it first came out because I wasn't into horror games at that time. Right. So
I kind of had the same story with Resident Evil. I had a neighbor that had 4. He came over, we played it, fell in love with it. Beat it a bunch of times, and then I'm like, oh, all of these other games are on GameCube. Let me try them all, and played them, and I didn't beat any of them. Didn't get too far in any of them.
Well,
yeah. No. That was it.
Okay. The funny thing about how I started playing Resident Evil, and I also have a similar story about how I started playing Metal Gear games. I'll get to that in a second. So when I first was playing Resident Evil 4, it was my boyfriend who was playing it. And I was just watching him. And then when he got up to go to the bathroom or go do something, like I went and I took his controller when it was at a quiet point, and he happened to be next to the water. And so I was sniping fish, and that was my thing. And I filled up his entire case with fish. And, so he had fish, And
I thought you were gonna go like I started shooting the water and then the giant fish came out and ate me because that's a thing that you can do.
But so I did that, and then also like he kept on having trouble with some of the QTEs, and so when he was getting super pissed at this game, but I wanted to see the next part, and I was getting mad that he wasn't getting past it. I'm like, give me the controller, let me try. And so I did, and I passed it the first time I played it and handed it back to him. Like, okay, here, now go back to doing the thing. You know, play for me, little child. Anyway, so I watched him play the entire thing before I ever played it. And, you know, so I was playing it after having knowledge of the entire game for the first time. And that's the same thing that happened with Metal Gear 3. So my first introduction to Metal Gear Solid games was 3, and I was watching him play it. And when he went away for some reason and left the controller, I picked it up and I started crawling through the grass and, again, collecting stuff for him to eat and playing with the camo and things like that and having fun. And then he came back and I was like, okay, here's the controller back, you know, but I was messing with it when he was away. And then eventually, after having seen him play the whole game, then I would pick it up and play the rest of them. But then, of course, from there, because I am the way I am, I was like, okay, let's go back and do all of the original games. I want to see all of them now, you know, all of the original Resident Evil, and let's play all of those, and let's play all the Metal Gears all the way through. And so to this day, that is a tendency that still exists, because here I am playing total IPs for my show. Like, that's just one. No, I got to do the whole IP, and I got to look at the tie-in novels and the comics and whatever else came out.
Yeah, I get that. I sometimes I get like that. Sometimes when I played the first Shantae game, I had to hold myself back from playing all of them because it was like episode 3 that we did. And I was like, I don't want to bombard the listeners that we don't have with just Shantae. So I played like the second one last year after having been doing the podcast for like 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. But it's so interesting that you like play like a middle game and then you're like, all right, let's go explore everything before it.
Yeah.
And then you enjoy everything before it too. Mm-hmm. So I was listening to Dave Jackson's Metal Gear Solid 2 episode that came out this week as of recording.
Me too. I was listening to it earlier.
Oh, that episode was fantastic. It was so good. Kate is such an interesting fellow. But like, him saying, "Oh, if I want people to start with 1, because if you start with this one and you go back to 1, then you know you're not going to get the same thing." But I feel like it depends on the person, because I think I saw my cousin playing 2, and then another one had 1, and I played 1 with him, and I still had a great time. And my favorite Metal Gear is Twin Snakes, which is a remake of 1. Even though it still has all the shortcomings from the original. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny too is that there are some series that I haven't been like, oh, I got to play every single thing in the series. Like I played Persona 4 Golden, enjoyed that game. It was kind of like a love-hate thing because I had been out of playing RPGs, like long JRPG style RPGs, for a very long time. And so when I hit like 95 hours on that game, I'm like, I was so exhausted. But it built up my tolerance for RPGs again. And so now I'm playing all these really long games again, you know? But I liked that game a lot. And then I did not go back and retro game all of Persona. I actually ended up doing a weird thing, and then I got Shin Megami Tensei 4 and played that instead, and then played all of that, you know?
You beat that game?
I beat it. Mm-hmm.
You have more patience than I do, because I got steamrolled by the first boss, and I was like, nope. Not for me. Sitting on the shelf somewhere here.
I haven't played any more of well, no, I say I haven't played any more. I did not retro game any of the Shin Megami Tensei games either. I played like about half of 5, and then I just got bored and stopped. Like, I don't know. I just got bored in the middle of it and was like, it might be just because I got my fix. You know, like I got my fix of ramping up my demons and doing all this other stuff, and then I was just like, I'm okay, because like Shin Megami Tensei's stories are not as gripping to me as like, you know, the Persona stories usually. Yeah. And I played 5 Royal a little bit. I do not like it. I do not like it. And that makes everybody mad, but I don't like Persona 5. I'm just like,
Okay.
I think it's because like the age I'm at right now, I'm so sick of high school. I'm sick of high school. I don't want to play high school anymore. I've got through like the whole first dungeon and I'm like, and then people are like, oh, but it gets better later. It's like, I don't want to wait another 20 hours for it to get better.
And yeah, that's the thing. You have to make a 20-hour commitment for it to get better. And if in 20 hours you can play a couple of games, right? Not just beginning of one.
And with all the indies that I play that are like 1 to 3 hours, I can play so many games.
Right.
So
yeah, from what I understand, from what some of the Discord members had over at our Discord, the Shin Megami Tensei games are just RPGs. They're not barely any story, if any.
No, there's not really any story.
It's just cut your teeth on RPG gameplay. And I bought 5 when it came out, and I was super excited to play it. And when I started hearing that, I was like, I'm not going to play this game. So it's on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like, that's why I said I got bored of it. Cause like, there's not a whole lot. It's story light, there's not a whole lot of story going on. You just have to like the stuff that you're looking at, and you have to like mashing demons together to make other things. And if you don't like the mechanical part of it and you don't like the repetition of what it's doing, or if you've had enough of it, like I did, then you're kind of done and you're like, okay, I can put it up now and I'll get back to it sometime.
Right.
Maybe.
Right. Have you ever played Persona 3?
No, I have not. Anything. But they're remaking it, so maybe there's a chance I'll play the remake.
It came out, and
I did.
Persona 3 is my favorite Persona game. As many times as I've beaten Persona 5, which has been twice, regular and royal, with more than 100 hours on each gameplay, a great playthrough. Persona 3 is still my favorite. Probably because I'm secretly an edgelord, and to summon your persona, you have to blow your brains out. But the story is great. The ending is perfect. The ending is perfection. It's a very sad ending. It's super super sad. It's great. It's a dungeon explorer. It's a randomly generated dungeons. You explore them, fight a monster, wait for the super bad to come out during the full moon, and just rinse and repeat. And the characters are entertaining and interesting. It has a very adult story when you compare it to 5 and a little bit of 4. The story's way more adult. It's darker. It deals with a lot of stuff that's just heavy. I think that, because I'm an edgelord, I that's why I like it so much. But
I definitely like a lot of dark media and things that trade in dark subject matter. So that might actually be a good pitch for me. I was thinking about it, and I think the reason why 4 was kind of my jam is because it's kind of like a Scooby-Doo mystery. I mean,
yes.
That's more or less what it is. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other trappings and things to do, right? But like, it's at heart just a Scooby-Doo mystery, and so that's I like my mystery stuff, and so I dug that game, and I think that's why.
Yeah, no, I think that the only way to make it more Scooby-Doo like is to put Ghost in the soundtrack and have them play Square Hammer, because that's like such a Scooby-Doo chase type music. That game is great. My brother-in-law is playing it right now for the first time, and every time he does something that just blows his mind or something happens in the story, he texts me. He's like, "Holy shit, this happened!" I'm like, "Yeah, it gets better." So he's experiencing that. I'm very happy for him that he's getting to play that right now.
Yeah, and see, like I got the Persona fighting game, and I was kind of like the Arena Ultimax or whatever it's called. I forget. Yeah. And like I played some of that, and I'm like, yeah, but I liked Persona 4 Dancing All Night. I liked that one. That was fun. But I thought, because I like RPGs and I like fighting games, this surely is going to be like a straight putt, right? But I bounced off of it. I don't know if I just didn't play far enough into it, but
I didn't play the story on that, but I did play a lot of the multiplayer. But the reason that I like that is because it's, Arc System Works, who do Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear's great.
I fucking love Guilty Gear so much.
Guilty Gear is awesome.
And I loved Arena. I just couldn't find anybody to play with. So I was just either stuck playing by myself or trying to get online, and people were just steamrolling me. So
Right. It's making me want to go back to play more Street Fighter 6. It's been a minute. Like I got that game for my birthday, and I need to play it. I need to play more of it. But like, it's just assignment play and everything else. And like, once you start playing something like that, you have to sink some time into, really train up, this particular game's style and whatever your chosen character is. Of course, for me, that's Cammy. It's always Cammy. But,
Yeah. I have a coworker that was talking to me about Tekken 8 today. And I was like, fuck, I really want to play it now. Because, again, I bought it and it's sitting on the shelf. And he tells me, oh, it has a story like Mortal Kombat. And I'm like, why are you telling me this, dude? Like, this is just making me want to play it more. And then he starts talking about frames and how they changed the fighting system so that now you can punish people whenever they mess up. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna start something that shouldn't start for a couple of more months.
Right. Oh, I have another weird or a couple of other weird fighting game things to mention. So, of fighting game things. So Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo is one of my favorite games on the PlayStation. I love that game.
I've always been interested in that game because
fun.
I'm not good at Street Fighter at all. I'm awful at Street Fighter. I can't figure it out for the life of me. But that one seems my speed. I've always been interested in it.
It's a puzzle game. It's super fun. There's like secret characters you can unlock and play as. They're very good. It's one of my favorite games. So yes, love it.
So is it like Tetris Attack but with a health bar?
It's basically you have these gems that you have to color coordinate, all the colors together, and like you can build larger and larger gems, and then you can crash those gems, which then punish your opponent with a whole bunch of dropped number blocks that take a certain number of additional drops before they will transfer into gem colors that the other person can use. And each character has a different drop pattern, so depending upon what character you're playing, they drop different types of things. And, of course, the point is to fill up the other person's screen so that way they don't have any room left to put any more blocks. But you can also chain stuff. So, like, if you have a lot of blocks on your side, if you arrange it just so and build up big enough blocks, you can do, like, a combo where one color of gems, like red gems, crash, and then, like, a thing drops to crash all the blue ones next. And then if you do like multiple like that, you can just totally, TKO your opponent. And so like there's strategy to it, but it's also kind of randomized because you don't know what the drops are going to be or any of that. And then again, the different characters have different drop patterns. So you have to either be familiar with what those drop patterns are or learn them real quick when you start playing against the computer or your opponent. So
I see. What was that one on?
That was PlayStation 1.
Okay. I'm adding that one because I forgot that was a thing, and I've always been interested in it.
It's super fun.
Also fighter.
Yeah. Yes. For sure.
Yeah. I think that's one of those games that my wife would play because she loves Puyo Puyo.
Oh, yeah.
And so sometimes we sit and play Puyo Puyo until she gets a headache, and then we stop.
Well, there's that. And then another one that I played on PlayStation 1 was Airjai's God Bless the Ring, which had like the Final Fantasy characters and all the other characters all fighting together. And so, like I played that one, and I don't think it's very good, but it was fun to play the characters. So
right. And I had a buddy that had it, and we only did like not Sack. Why do I go to Sack? Cloud versus Sephiroth the entire time because it was the only thing that we wanted it for.
Right. Well, what's weird about Final Fantasy VII is so my first Final Fantasy was, I think, Final Fantasy 3/6, and then I played Final Fantasy V, and then skipped some time until I got Final Fantasy VII on my PC. I didn't even have it on the actual console.
Wow.
I had it on PC. And here's another one of those tragedy stories that I have for you. So this is back like, when you had lots of blue screen of death happen and things like that, your computer would crash. So the computer had crashed and wiped my save data, and I was so heartbroken. I didn't go back to play it when I had it on PC. I had to go back and play it, like retro game it way later, because I couldn't even go back, like bring myself to go back to it. I was so sad.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts so much.
Yeah. So I was playing like Energize, but like I was playing it and I was also like sitting here crying little tears of BSOD, the blue screen of death ate my characters. I have no idea what happened in that game and I'm never going back to it because my computer died, like this whole thing. So
it's awful. It's so bad. I don't know why it went Sack. Sack is my favorite, right? He's such a good character. I don't know where I was going with that. But
I still have to finish playing Crisis Core. I started it. I don't know. I didn't get anywhere.
I wish they would have taken themselves more serious with the voice recording and the dialogue in Crisis Core, because there are some moments that are heavy, and if they would have played more seriously into them, I feel like that game would have been bigger than it is, way bigger than it is, because it has that hokey, I think it's Nomura kind of Kingdom Heartsy dialogue, and it just kind of doesn't fit. But I replayed that last year, and it was fantastic.
I got to get back to it. It's on the list with so many other things. Things I have to get back to. That was one I think I pre-ordered too, but at least I played a little of it before it got shelved.
You remember what part you left off on?
No, I have no idea. No. I'd have to like boot it up and look at it. It's been several other games since then. So
I mean, it's a pretty short game. I think I kicked it in like 4 nights, like giving it like maybe 4 hours each night. So it's super short, super doable. It's so good. Sack is such a good boy. But
at least you're not a Cloud fan. I'm not really a Cloud fan. Everybody else seems to love Cloud, and I can't. He's never appealed to me. I don't know. Can't tell you.
I'm glad they're giving him a personality in Remake, but I don't know how far that's gonna go.
I haven't played it yet because it came out on Steam only because I didn't have the console. And so it came out on Steam, but then I didn't have my computer got borked. And so I had to wait until I had a Steam Deck, and then now I have a Steam Deck and I have bought the game. Guess what's sitting in the backlog?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. Cause other stuff has been, coming up since. So I'll play it eventually.
I wasn't a big fan of 7 growing up. I think I've recently become somewhat of a fan of it. And I think what they're doing with Remake is great. It's going to be a really, really good remake, regardless of what the fans of the original say. Because I really like what happened at the end of that game. And then the DLC, it's Yuffie, the DLC, and it's so good. I feel like the DLC was better than the main campaign.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So my Final Fantasy that I played a whole hell of a lot of was Final Fantasy X. So that's the one I played a lot of.
That's one that I need to play with a fresh mind, because the few times that I've tried to play it, the first time I hated it. I hated the characters, hated what was going on in the story and whatever. And then the second time I started liking it, but then I got to the first fight with Seymour and I dropped it because I could not beat him. So I want to play it and actually give it a fair shot, because
I will say
a lot of people love it.
Yeah, I will say that from what I've seen and heard, the remaster of it is bad insofar as the graphics and stuff go. They do some stuff with the graphics that make it look really nasty and yuck, the way that they try to spruce it up. And so I would say go look on the internet about that, and then make your decision about which version to play after you look at that. So,
I know that they released 7. My dog just barked, and I heard her over my headphones. She must be mad. I know that 7, 8, and 9 have Switch versions with like 9999 damage and infinite health, infinite magic, sped up battles. So if there's a version like that for 10, that's the version I'm gonna want to play, because at this point I have played with the combat system, and I like what they did, but I don't want to put the time into restarting all over again. I just want to go through the story and see what it's like at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
So
yeah, I know. Like, that's why I'm like, well, like, maybe, just look into it and see what's on offer and what the comparison looks like. And, if nothing else, you can always go look at the cutscenes, like the original cutscenes on YouTube or something, if it, is ugly looking. So.
Right. I showed my wife the laughing scene, and she just had like a face of disgust, and she's like, what the fuck am I looking at? I'm like, right?
So I have another weird story. I have a weird story about Final Fantasy that ties into music stuff. So
yes, go ahead.
Which ties into something we talked about earlier. So when I was looking at the like animation and stuff on YouTube about Final Fantasy Dirge of Kerberos, which is bleh, but like I was watching the opening and it has like the music and stuff. I really liked the theme that was playing, and I was like, oh, this is a baller theme. Who is the singer for this? And it was Gact. And that's how I got into J-Rock. Okay. I found out, and then I found out, oh, well, this character in the game is voiced by Gact, and also is the character model comes from him. But then guess what? Squall is also modeled on him, and so is Tidus. And like all from different eras of his career, because the people who made Final Fantasy are big Gact fanboys. Oh, well, that's interesting. So that's how I got into J-Rock. And I was a major J-Rock fan for a long time. And I even went to Japan to go to J-Rock concerts, including a Gact concert at some point in my life. And there's so much more. Wait a minute. It gets better. So then, like, how you were talking about the game that was there for you during a breakup? Well, a Gact album was there for me during a breakup. And so that came to me via Dirge of Kerberos, of all things. And then I met my husband, Dave, because he was going to the gym and he was posting on Twitter. He and I like followed each other, but didn't really talk a whole lot. And because we were like in podcasting circles, and he had posted like, let us lift. And then he posted his soundtrack for that day at the gym, and it happened to be Gact. And so I replied to him, I think I love you. And so he just took it in stride. And then he was like, oh, let me show you my like indie chops, and how much I know about this by telling you all about, oh yeah, well, I liked this album and this is my favorite song. And this is from his indie days. And I was like, okay, mister, Then I was like, he doesn't really know me. Maybe I should just like see if I actually like it. Like, I just told God and everybody that I love him. Maybe I should just talk to him and see how he's like as a person, And then like we never stopped talking to each other, and then we eventually got married. So, all because of Dirge of Kerberos.
You can blame Gact for that one. So,
yes.
So did you guys walk down the aisle to Gact?
No, we did not. Actually, so we didn't have like a big wedding. We just got like a handful of friends together. We even got Monster Dear Monster co-host, because Dave is the primary host of that show. His co-host on there, friend of ours, Leonard, got him to become ordained so he could become the person to marry us. And then the song that we had playing was by Jake Lionheart, who is the guy who does the theme for my show and the theme for Dave's show, who is a very cool nerd rap guy and musician generally. So that's what we listen to. But again, all this whole rabbit hole, cool. This whole wild rabbit hole about Jala's adventures overseas, where I almost got stolen by a Gact lookalike at the Gact concert. That's a fun story. And then met my eventual spouse. It all comes from watching the opening to Dirge of Kerberos.
At least something good came out of that game.
Right. So
Oh, that's so awesome. That's so cool.
I have lots of stories. Too many stories. This has been a long episode for you. You were so tired, right?
I am, but I am having an amazing time. But why don't we call it here? And then I'm gonna have to bring both you and Dave together because I have had a blast, and I'm pretty sure that you guys are gonna have amazing stories together. It's gonna be so much fun.
It will be very good. I already know that for a fact. Dave is a very good guy. So
yeah, I am excited to record with him on Sunday. I am, like I told you off mic, little bit he told me over Twitter DMs. I'm completely mind blown, and now I can't wait to see what else he tells me on Sunday. So it's gonna be
that's
great.
how it was when I first started talking to him, because I started talking to him and I'm like, he's chatting with me. He's telling me all these different things. He's telling me about his interests, and then like when we were trying to co-op a game together to get to know each other and we're sitting on the thing, and then he's like reading the Japanese. I'm like, you know Japanese too? What? And then just, everything. It's just one thing after another. And I'm like, Dave, how are you single? Justify to me. So.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So do you want to go ahead and tell everybody where to find you again in case somebody didn't catch it quite right the first time?
Oh, sure. So everywhere on the internet that I may be found, you may find me at Jala-Chan. And you can find my podcast at jalachan.place and also at thelevelpodcast.com.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and post all of that stuff on the show notes. So all you people have to do is just click it and it'll take you straight there to listen to everything from video games to self-help from Jala. And again, please send me that Get Rid of Capitalism episode because I want to listen to that.
Yes, we'll do. And we have a follow-up episode about burnout coming out sometime this year.
Nice. I'm definitely going to need that, especially this week. Hopefully I'm as tired as I am this week then.
No, not hopefully.
I only say that because job security, but...
yeah. Gotcha.
So, all right. That's it for this week's episode of A Novel Console. Everybody go listen to Jala-Chan, follow her on every platform. And do you want to say goodbye to everybody, Jala?
Bye!
Goodbye, everyone.